KeSPA Cup here in the Nexon Arena in the heart of Seoul, Korea. My name is Daniel C. Petrikos. I'm being joined by the illustrious Ryan Frosker and more. Of course, we've given Frosker a hard enough time about China, about Worlds, about her regular season casting gig. So let's talk just about Korea today. Give us a rundown of what we saw yesterday in the KeSPA Cup.
Okay, so we saw a fantastic performance right out of the gate from Anarchy versus Najin, in which Anarchy were able to take the win right there. Najin, they did field Tank as well as Peanut, and kind of looked like they had some growing pains between their new roster pickups, whereas Anarchy stayed true to their original roster. Next game was Pathos versus Young Boss, in which Pathos took a commanding 2-0 victory over Young Boss. Unfortunate, had such a great name. And then they finished it up with Jin Air versus Longju IM. And Jin Air showed the new roster and a new Jin Air.
Of course, but let's take a look at today's games. Of course, our first set is going to be Samsung Galaxy versus Ever. Ever, a team that almost was able to qualify for the LCK, but was only to scrape a single win off of Spenu in the promotion matches, now facing head-to-head against Samsung. Samsung kind of on the up and up, have a very interesting roster. Big fan of their AD carry and their mid laner as well, and we're going to have to see how they perform today against Ever. Ever, a team with a very large roster and a large variety of players.
And this really just comes down to Samsung figuring out their identity. So they struggled, they were very up and down. You mentioned their AD carry Fury. So I know we're gonna actually throw it back to the LPL really quick. Prime Optimus was a team that was just kind of ripped apart, and a lot of the members ended up in China. Pretty much every single one but Fury. And I feel like that was kind of the biggest overstep. Like, Fury is so good. He's one of those AD carries where he knows exactly that thin line between I can continue to trade damage because I'm safe, because their cooldowns aren't available, and he'll tread that beautifully. But unfortunately, Samsung have had some issues trying to find, in that mid lane in particular, Crown to Bliss to Crown, and trying to figure out their growing pains so they can become that Samsung tree, that Samsung White Six organization again.
Yeah, and it's got to be hard stepping into their shoes. Obviously, it's been a whole season since we saw Samsung White and Samsung Blue really dominate the competition, but it's still there for that organization. There's still that stigma. They want to be that team, but we're already in a picks advance. It's going to be game one between Ever and Samsung Galaxy. Nidalee already taken away from Eve. No surprises there.
And I just want to quickly point out again, Ever, they've been around, they have a roster that's been around the Challenger scene for quite a while. They barely missed out on their LCK, I say barely, but they took a game off the Spinner. Spinner were the ones that took their seed into the LCK, so they're one of, I would consider, the stronger Challenger teams in the tournament, so we'll see if they can make a splash.
Of course, Twisted Fate taken away, Gangplank and Callista as well. Twisted Fate has been quite a powerful pick so far in the KeSPA Cup. Gangplank, one of those must-ban champions, and also your Mimic, of course. We saw Olaf absolutely dominate that matchup yesterday, but Lulu taken off as well. So really no surprises here, as the Rise is going to be the final ban. Looking like some pretty standard setups, but Kindred makes it through. So far, that champion has a 100% win rate.
How much win rate?
100.
100. She has a 100% win rate, you are correct. It was Wing from Jin Air as well as Lyra from Anarchy that played her yesterday, otherwise she was pretty much perma-banned following. No surprise to see Rise ban. Again, I predict that he'll continue to be 100% banned, 100% picked.
Definitely a very impressive champion. We saw Faker utilizing his full potential on the World Championship stage, and I think that just about everybody has been spamming him in solo queue. Mid laners, top laners, everyone is ready to play him at a moment's notice. So we have the Ashe and the Bard lock-in. Oh, I'm excited to talk about Bard, but just go ahead.
No, I actually would like this. So we did see the hover from QB on the Fiora, and if there's anything that we learned yesterday is that Kindred is so good against denying Fiora's ultimate with her ult Lamb's Respite. Just because Fiora goes to try to get those procs on that timer, you throw the Lamb's Respite and she's not able to follow it up and get the AoE healing round.
And the other thing that we saw is just the absurd amount of mobility that Dance of Arrows and Wolf's Frenzy grant would use in unison. It makes it difficult for Fiora to even hit the one or even up to 4 of the procs on that grand challenge. It's really difficult to pop the ult naturally, and of course, impossible to actually kill your opponent in that Lamb's Respite.
Nope, completely agree. As for Bard, I was actually really excited to see Kindred and Bard on the same team just because it's such a big anti-dive, obviously with your Pseudo-Zonia Hourglass available, but unfortunately going to be on opposite sides. But I feel like Bard is picked up in a response to try to figure out, okay, how do we deal with Kindred?
And the one thing that I do really love about Bard and Ashe together is that you have a lot of long-range playmaking potential now. Tempered Fate from Bard, not the best skill for cross-mapping, much better in a shorter range. The travel time is obviously not very fast. The travel speed, rather, is not very fast. But quick responses back. That's a Trundle and an Elise. I don't know what this comp is from Samsung, but I am loving it.
Likewise, so I feel like the Bard is a direct response to the Kindred, and likewise the Trundle being a direct response to the Fiora. The thing about Trundle, though, is that he gets free tank stats off of his ultimate, but he's across from someone who's not necessarily very tanky, so he's not going to get... Because normally you can build damage on Trundle. I mean, you don't full damage, but you can itemize damage onto Trundle and then be just as tanky when you're against an actual tank. Fiora, again, you don't necessarily get that, so we'll see what QB's going to do with the champion. I mean, it will be more difficult to chase down a Trundle when you're on that Fiora to try to, again, proc your ultimate just because of his pillar as well as his movement speed ground. Wish I was play-by-play caster. What's it called?
Frozen Domain.
Thank you.
I can't remember. I used to know it very well, but then changed the name. Trundle, not a champion I've seen in a long time. Definitely going to learn some of the abilities on the fly here. But you're right. I mean, the thing that we saw him traditionally used against was tanks in previous metas, and there's not really that option for him in the top lane. We'll have to see exactly what Kube can do with this, as you said. But the final lock-ins are going to be Kassadin and that Kog'Maw. Kog'Maw and Tahm Kench, an absolutely brutal combo. We saw Jin Air using it to its fullest potential yesterday.
So you have... I'm just kind of stepping back and examining their combo. They don't really have a tank. They have pseudo-tank stats in Tahm Kench and a lot of mobility. Thrown on pretty much everyone but Kog'Maw, and obviously, again, Tahm Kench bringing to kind of bridge that there, but otherwise, in a Street 5v5, Ever really don't have a line of scrimmage to set up for this Kog'Maw. He's kind of left to his own devices to make sure that he stays safe. It's really important for Key that he's watching his AD carry, because Tahm Kench, that's your tank.
And it'll be very interesting to see exactly what Ever can do with his team composition if they want to use that Kindred and Kog'Maw in tandem, sort of have this unkillable backline for at least a few seconds, or what they do with the composition in general. Of course, definitely some interesting picks here. Crown finally going to lock in that Azir. No real surprises there.
It's his most played
exactly.
champion. He has a 33% win rate against Samsung, finished 7th in the regular LCK season. And that's what I want to talk about. You're motioning on your screen, you guys can't see him. The double teleport. So my big thing about Azir, because I feel like Ryze, Veigar, Twisted Fate, and Lissandra are kind of the 4 premier mid laners. We saw a ton of them yesterday. We didn't really see Azir until the very end. The problem with Azir is I feel like he doesn't get as much out of the double teleport as pretty much anyone else on that lineup because he doesn't have the hard CC. When he teleports down to a lane, he has to set up his Sand Soldiers. Is it awful? No, but it's just not as effective as a Twisted Fate or as a Ryze or Lissandra suddenly being in your lane and then locking you up and blowing you up.
Well, of course, we're going to have to see exactly how that works out. Crown is an incredibly proficient Azir player, and if anyone can make it work, it will be him, but does not have the same tools
there's
as
us in
those
the
other
birdcage.
mid-laners. Yeah, they took the screen away. We can see now. We've had to talk about poaching. Frostcurrent's now allowed to look at the players.
Yeah. Yesterday I wasn't allowed to look at them.
No, you gotta ease into it. You gotta earn your keep when you're in Korea. Of course, we'll be right back going into game 1 in just a minute here, guys. Wow.
Normally there's a moment of silence for the...
She even like motioned me. She's like, don't you talk. You ruined it yesterday for the Jin Air fans. And I did. And I'm sorry, Jin Air fans. I've learned. But it looks like the Samsung fans and the Ever fans are not out in force today. However, still a pretty sizable audience here as we move forward into this game. Now, I have to say, the one thing I love about Korean production is that I feel like they find better American music than I do consistently. Every one of those videos always has great background music.
They're looking great in it, too. That said, this is game 1, set 1, and we've got a pretty standard start from both teams. 5-point start, everyone covering the 5 major entrances into the jungle. Call this the option play of League of Legends because it's just about a defensive start as opposed to acquiring information through aggressive invades.
A little bit of cheeky invade coming in here from Samsung. Want to make sure that their lane opponents do not start with any advantage from this Krugs. They are going to ward that one up, so they will know if it does go down and will be able to respond in kind. However, at the end of the day, anytime there is a Kindred in a match, given the absolutely dominating nature of this champion, you have to watch her, or watch them rather, and know where they're going.
For those of you new to Kindred, as it looks like we do see Loken and Key heading up for a lane swap, Kindred is absolutely... I don't want to use the word broken.
I'm gonna say, let's just say it's hard to find a word that is. She's very, very powerful, incredibly oppressive, does a lot of damage, very hard to kill.
Her objective control is absolutely out of this world. She is so good at taking Barons very early, incredibly mobile with Mimby. And it just goes back to the fact that she marks random jungle creeps, and she can stack her passive off of those marks if she takes the camp up to 6 times, and that's so much free damage. But
Key poking in here, seeing if he can get some harass down on this early jungle clear. May have to be careful though. Trundle gets a level 2 and a pillar. That could be an early flash blown. Doesn't look like we're going to see too much aggression. But as you're saying, Kindred, you know, a very polarizing champion, very powerful, and I would say like a viable jungle Kalista is what I would compare her to. So much utility, so much objective pressure, and just a character that you have to watch. You have to watch where that mark's going down, who she's going to try to take out, and really you cannot let her get any kind of kill or she will snowball out of control.
yeah, and I frankly feel that she's a little bit stronger than Kalista right now. It's a little out of control, but on the bottom side of the map, let's check out what Luna's doing. Luna is trying to play with patience and pull this red buff, but wasn't as successful. Hawkshot going out to cover him. Actually, a good adaptation to take the level 2 Hawkshot to make sure that they can cover for this red buff invade.
Definitely does not need any offensive skills, as it has been a pretty passive lane phase thus far. And overall, a little bit of a fumble there from Luna, but some good showing for higher strategy on the side of Samsung, trying to get a little more jungle clear efficiency. Ares poking his head in. Kuve and Eve on the way out of this jungle may try to pressure down this turret, but there are 3 members of Ever down here on the bottom side of the map.
And at best, you can just kind of walk in and attempt to pressure. The one thing about Elise is that she's very good at walking into lanes and just shoving in waves with her spiderling, as well as her tower damage. But instead, it looks like they're not even going to play with that because it was a good rotation from Ever to pull the necessary numbers to the bottom side of the map. Gonna continue back to the jungle, and we're gonna send QV up into the top lane.
So far, a very passive sort of lane swap style game. It's going to be interesting to see where these junglers decide to apply their pressure. Of course, not too many options at this stage of the game to do much of anything. Not enough items, not enough gold without committing a lot of members to pick up any kills.
I want to quickly kind of touch on the deep wards. We saw that there was a couple of pings as Ares there walked over some deep wards set down by Samsung. Samsung throughout the LCK summer split were actually very good at preparation and warding. Their inconsistencies and the reason why they finished so low was really on their ability to execute on top of the vision. It's very much like Anarchy. You have these teams where you see the potential, especially in how they're controlling vision, but it's just not quite refined enough that they're being as consistent and as effective with that information.
That's something we're going to have to see if Samsung can find here today. Ever not exactly known for amazing vision control. They are playing this lane swap pretty patiently, though. Definitely has been an issue for them in the past in the challenger scene. Kind of a rotating roster. Struggles to adapt to those larger kind of scale macro plays, but doing well so far in the early game at least.
And Crazy is the guy that you're supposed to watch for on this Ever roster, and especially getting a big priority pick like Fiora. We've seen Darius and Riven both nerfed on this patch. Yeah, Fiora's had some changes to her ultimate, but still in a very healthy place, and we saw some great performances from her yesterday. See if Crazy can step up and be that primary carry that he's known to be forever.
Not doing too badly as of right now. A small CS lead over Trundle there in that top lane. Not going to get too many items at this stage, but comfortably farming is always a good sign. Really curious to see what Kuve can do in this matchup. Trundle traditionally that tank killer, as you mentioned earlier. Fiora, really not a tank.
No, but Trundle does open up massive split push pressure, as does Fiora. So I feel like, again, this is just a response from Samsung on how do we deal with the Fiora. And it makes sense in game 1 in a best of series, you know, to give away a priority pick like Fiora and to just kind of test the waters. You know, is this a viable answer? But hold on, top lane.
Keep going in, finds the cocoon. Pillars has yet to come out. Ares is going to try and find his way out of this one. Has the Wolf's Frenzy. Will have the 2-second cooldown. Heal coming out from Loken as well. They are going to be able to finish the one up. First blood for Kuve. Loken could be next.
Teleport.
TP on the backside. As you said, Loken may go down here. A Cathian surprise is going to be a little farther away after the TP. Crazy picking up one more, turning this one around on Kuve, but Crown is here to back up the TP on the backside. May not be enough, but Kuve trying to make it to safety. Crazy will have the dash up shortly, going in for that vital proc, grabbing a kill of his own, and Crown just having to run away. Not going to go down. A 2-for-2 exchange overall.
So in the end, like you said, 2 for 2. I think the big fumble right there was Samsung on the back half of the fight, not being as prompt with their teleport timings. But what I really want to touch in is that initial play and that jungle catch, the first blood, was set up by vision. So we talked about Samsung are actually very good at laying down and engineering their vision deep so they can make plays. It's just about inconsistencies of when they act on them. But so far, early game, they managed to do it, set down their deep wards in the river, took advantage of the information, got the first blood.
Stuck around, unfortunately, a little bit too long. An excellent teleport coming in from Athena and from Crazy to help secure those 2 kills back. Gonna have to tighten it up if they want to find success here. Azir's TP just not very effective at this stage of the game. Needs a little bit more time to scale up. Ares trying to get over the wall, cannot make it. Caught out by the Chilling Smite. Bard is on the back line. They get the stun, and that is one dead Kindred, shutting this champion down early.
Yeah, that tumble was just a happy little accident.
It's okay, Kindred. You'll get another chance. Dance arrows. It's a 2-second cooldown.
The world is your canvas, Kindred.
Just dance in this one specific area and please make it over the wall next time. Of course, Samsung going to be happy with that one, utilizing this pressure now to turn their attention towards the dragon. Bard trying to make it out with the Magical Journey, but going to get eaten up by Key here. Key playing incredibly aggressively. Not quite an acquired taste. Will find it here. Could get the stun. Not going to be aggressive enough to pursue over the wall there. Not for a second that he might go through the portal, but be playing patient and backing off. A lot of low members of Samsung, though, could be in trouble. That level 6 Kog'Maw trying to find a way in. No smite there. Eve will get it. Repel has to be available. Going to try to jump out. Exhaust coming in as well as the heal. They're going to get a quick kill, though. Ever finding that one back. Going through as a team on the Magical Journey. One more failed flash to keep this going as Bard will drop in that exchange.
So many happy little accidents. So we had another failed flash into the wall. That's unfortunate. What's more unfortunate, though, Ever did do a good job collapsing to try to make the best of that situation. But so many kills could have gone to the Kassadin and didn't. Key picked one up on the Tahm Kench, likewise Kog'Maw got the second one. So right now Athena sitting 1-0 and 2 on that Kassadin, but could have easily been 3-0.
A little bit more patience and a little bit more coordination on the side of Ever would have been necessary to make that happen. We're going to watch this play one more time. Keep your eyes on Eve and that repel, and it's just an unfortunate scenario as they move in here. Athena, it's just so easy for them to pursue now with the Magical Journey there. Luna, a little bit of a misstep to make that in the wall, additionally failing the flash there. Just a little bit of a clown fiesta, I think the term is.
Rude. In the end, though, they do manage to secure the dragon, so opening up that 5th dragon win condition fairly early, and that's something that Samsung really like to play around again. They've growing pains in figuring out what their identity is as a team, but I would say it's about trying to prep for objectives. They're usually really good about that, and then executing on top of those objectives. So see if they're going to continue to be able to do that, or if we're going to have some more little accidents.
Additionally, Ever starting to ramp up here. Kassadin with the blue buff has the catalyst already. Going to try to work towards that Rod of Ages. Crazy doing pretty well as well. 63 to 38 farm. Cuvée actually getting shut down here. Now Crazy, known as one of the better challenger scene top laners. Cuvée known as one of the weaker LCK top laners. We weren't sure what to expect from this matchup, but it looks like Crazy is kind of just having his way with this Trundle.
Yeah, and it's really just unfortunate. I mean, we've had some lane swap scenarios go on to also attribute into this, as well as a large wave is pushing into QV, so it's still bad, but it's not as bad. I think it's about a 12 CS discrepancy, which roughly equates to 300 gold and 1 kill worth of advantage in Crazy's hands.
And of course, that is balanced out by the Ashe in the bottom lane, 71 to 85, about a 14 CS advantage for Fury at this stage in the game. Exactly what we expect from him in the laning phase on this Ashe. Always playing forward, always playing aggressive, utilizing that early game strength against the Kog'Maw.
And again, Fury's identity on this team as that guy that will stand on the line between safety and maximizing his damage output. Interesting to see him on a champion like Ashe having that control to start the fight, but hold on.
Fight going down, Grand Challenge going to be thrown out, but it doesn't look like anyone's going to follow up here. Just a trade of ultimates, the Subjugate overall being utilized.
And there we go. We get to see, why Samsung are prioritizing Trundle as an answer into the Fiora. So Fiora trying to proc that ultimate, get the burst damage down, and Trundle able to outmaneuver as well as heal back.
Definitely a solid performance there from Cuvée to stay alive, as Fiora surely was hungry for the kill in that exchange. We'll have to see how he fares as Fiora is able to get more items further in the game. Starting out with that pickaxe, may look for the early Tiamat just to create some wave pressure here on the top side. Cuvée, so much more sustain, however, at this stage of the game. Very easily able to push in that creep wave.
And again, this seems like something so small, but for relative to Samsung's positioning, and just kind of really the big difference between them and Ever right now, when they go to place deep wards, which were then immediately cleared out by Ever, but they went to place deep wards, how Samsung did it was entirely together as a unit, even pulling the AD carry.
The rest of Samsung, though, here on the top side as Eve poking around for this gank. And as you said, just excellent map movement so far from the Samsung lineup. The other issue, though, as you said already, not utilizing that vision to the fullest extent. Trundle just going to back off here. Catching up in the CS, as predicted. Only 82 to 69 now, so...
Only.
Much less of a gap than it was just a few moments ago.
He had a big wave pushing into him. Took the score a little bit too early.
Key here on the bottom side, clearing out the pink wards as well. Ever doing a very decent job of shutting down Samsung's vision here early on. Not doing such a great job of creating vision of their own, however. A little bit in the dark here as to Samsung's movements. Bard, of course, level 6 now. We have to keep our eyes out for that Tempered Fate. Ash, of course, also has the crystal or enchanted crystal arrow. And engage at any moment, given the proper opportunity.
Safe target, though, is a big question, but hold on.
Ares coming in here as the Wolf's Frenzy. Will get the 2-second cooldown on Dance of Arrows, but quickly going to find his way out of there with the shifting sands. Arrow on the way back up. Fury making sure he can keep his mid laner safe.
Swing and a miss. Good response, though, from Ever. The fact that Athena could have chased very easily after that Azir, but obviously the communication coming from the bottom lane with the Ashe arrow was headed into the mid lane, so Athena doesn't pull the trigger on the Rift Walk. So already showing, despite the fact that that gank didn't equate into any blood, that they have good communication and good map awareness to watch out for those global ultimates.
Definitely important when you're facing down an LCK team, a team that has just much more experience as a roster overall. Ever doing a very good job of staying even at this point, even have themselves a small gold advantage. Honestly, not what we expected coming into this matchup. Expected a little bit of a difference in mechanical skill and map movement, but both teams appear to be evenly matched, at least at this stage of the game.
Not a lot has really been done in terms of really proactive plays. I mean, you had an engaged dragon from Samsung, but kind of a messy positioning and not normally the preparation to make sure that it was as safe as possible, and that's really where Ever found this lead. We'll see if they're able to keep up kind of in the mid to late game where you see a lot of more experienced teams take off because it becomes that much more important in your cross-map ability.
Luna could be caught out here. He's going to try to use the magical journey to get out, but he is exhausted, and Acquired Taste could be brought up using...
Oh, nice flash.
Excellent flash from Key, coming in, getting a taste for that Bard, giving that kill over to Loken, and immediately transitioning into the Dragon, Ever taking control.
Yeah, and as I say that, Key making a fantastic flash play, like you said, to dodge the Bard ultimate. It transitions into a numbers advantage for Ever to take the Dragon for free.
2, though, now on the top side for Samsung, going to try to take this top lane tower back in response. Are going to be able to do so successfully, but only Fury is left to try to protect the bottom side of the map. This could be very bad if he tries to stay crazy. Hungry for blood here as they move in. TP coming down. This could be a disaster. Ash does have the arrow. The grand challenge is issued. Trundle disrupting with an excellent pillar, but there is no way that he can save his AD carry. May have to give up his life as well. Tomcatch moving in for more kills, more teleports on the backside. Crown pushing people away from his tower, but what is he doing? Why? Under the member with every member of Samsung as finally the Lamp of Fight comes out to keep the team alive, and the tower will go down. A massive play here from Ever.
Okay, the big issue is the primary teleport, and I was checking as it was going down. Crown had his TP available to follow up Trundles. When I saw QV come down, I said, oh, that's the Azir. This is a brilliant flash because Fury's going to reposition himself. The Emperor's Divide is going to come out, and they're going to take so much damage. No, this teleport is the Trundle, and Trundle offers you 0 safety or protection. He hits a nice pillar, but it doesn't block Fiora, and she's able to instantly get that healing underneath the tower. Loken then does a great job dropping the tower aggro. Look at how late this teleport is from Crown. They needed this Emperor's Divide 5 seconds earlier.
Loken, of course, using his heal there and then using the Lamb's Respite as well to help stay alive, but no member going to drop. Kindred, not even the power in that play, just a massive misstep on the side of Samsung.
They look really disorganized right now, and, you know, you started to talk about Ever looking like the stronger team, despite the fact that this is a Korean challenger team effectively against an LCK team.
It just looks like Ever know exactly what they wanted to do in this game, and Samsung seriously underestimated the strengths of their opponent. They may have expected an easy win here. They may have expected a team overall just less talented than them, but Ever is playing incredibly well, moving around the map very well. Their ward control isn't amazing, but when a play comes in, when they have the opportunity to respond, they're excellent.
And they've had a decent wards, especially defensive wards. Now that they have the gold lead swinging in their favor, it's starting to creep up closer, especially as they're challenging a tier 2 here, and Samsung is not responding in time at all.
No fear at all. Tempered Fate coming out, gonna pick up Loken. Kuve not in a great position to respond to this, however. Arrow coming up as well, so not going to have the follow-up there, but 2 ultimates used to protect that tower as Fury does push in the mid lane.
I'm waiting for the flank here and seeing what Fury's going to do, because here comes Tahm Kench.
Fury could be in trouble here. Does not have the arrow to keep himself safe. Ares, though, respecting the Azir zone control, going to back off of that one.
Key using the reposition on Tahm Kench defensively in front of the tower as opposed to attempt to flank. I think it might have been the smarter choice because I think Fury got back in time, but...
And we have to give a lot of credit to Key this game. 1-0-5 on this Tahm Kench.
Oh, he's playing fantastic.
Just making so many plays for his teams, consistently getting 3 stacks of that passive, stunning out, eating up, taking out enemy and allied champions.
Sidestepping necessary CC, and we talked about how Loken is so dependent.
Oh, moving in here, may try to find the kill onto Eve. Does still have the repel, not going to have to use it though.
See, I want to talk because I'm like, there's no way that they're going to die here. They're completely, and then they just... Anyway, Loken is entirely dependent on Key. Because again, you look at this composition, Kindred, Cassidy, and Fiora. No one is going to be standing around saving him but this Tahm Kench. They're all going to be attempting to dive that backline, all 3 massive carry threats. And Key is really the only true tank on the team. So he had to play perfect. And there's still a lot of game left, especially as we come closer to these big 5v5s. But so far, completely on point with this pick.
And not using the Tahm Kench very defensively. This is one of the first aggressive Tahm Kenches we've seen in a long time. Consistently running forward, flashing over that Tempered Fate earlier in the game. But overall, just doing what he needs to do in the early game. May have to shift to a more protective role as they move further along. And Kog'Maw becomes a more important part of their damage. However, playing aggressive so far, and it's a good look on him. That 6 out of 8 for kill participation, an excellent stat to start off the KeSPA here.
Now, Samsung, they do have some hope left into the late game, despite the fact that they're also facing across from a very scary late game team from Ever. Crown, again, Azir is his most played champion. He's had an inconsistent performance. Sometimes he looks great, sometimes, you know, not so much. Maybe more similar to this game with that current score line. But needs to get his item break points. Azir can put out the massive deeps late game, as well as a lot of control in front of him. Fury on that Ashe will scale up very well. If this game goes late enough, it just takes 1 arrow. Jin Air learned that the hard way yesterday. So, see if Samsung can control this bleeding, slow the pace of the game down, and start really connecting with these semi-global or global ultimates. Because they need to hit the bar, they need to hit the arrow, and they need to make a pick.
And one thing that challenger teams are consistently comfortable in is usually the early game, regardless, because it's where they have the most experience. It takes a much more veteran team to have confident and solid shot calling as we move into the late game. So that may be where Samsung starts to shine.
It's because there's a lot more structure in the early game. You have the lane phase to kind of dictate where you're supposed to be. As soon as the tier 2 towers start dropping, that's when a lot of less experienced teams will kind of fumble around because you have so much more map to play with, and it's much more important to start managing your creep waves and setting up different pressure points to open up larger objectives like Baron, which is high risk, high reward. So we'll see if Ever can, again, either snowball their lead so far ahead that they can make really risky calls, or if they're still tight enough in their mid and late game shot calling to close this one out.
Fury throwing a little bit of poke down there onto Athena. Athena trying to start a split push here. Doesn't look like the most confident call, but definitely making some progress as he pushes in those waves on the bottom side of the map.
No, it's really good. I actually think Athena's completely fine to have a split push here. He has his teleport up and available. Obviously, he's casted and incredibly mobile. And in the 1v1 against Fury, I mean, if Fury hits an incredible ultimate, but still, I think Cassidy would be fine. He's got a lot of kill pressure. I think Fury's more scared in that situation.
Cassidy not concerned whatsoever as he does spot the remaining members of Samsung's on the top side of the map. Kube, though, starting to trade here with Crazy as the TP comes in. We could have a fight breaking out. Crazy running for his life. The Samsung members descend upon him. The teleport was canceled. Tahm Kench, though, here and on the way. Not going to be able to cancel that one. Loken in trouble. Tahm Kench needs to save him. Eats him up. Can throw him over the wall, but there's another TP here, and Loken may be in trouble. Azir coming in. Tempered Fate on the way. Gonna catch Key. Crown missing the Emperor's Divide. A massive misstep and far too many happy accidents. Samsung, however, will get Key.
In the end, Samsung's all of their expended teleports and so much pressure, it does pay off because they pick up a single kill. I mean, obviously, that was a chain of unfortunate events for both sides to kind of lead to this. It doesn't really amount to anything in terms of pressure traded up on the map. You did get a lot of flashes, so that's fairly important for the next big team fight because Loken doesn't have his flash, as well as Crazy. But That was a series of unfortunate events. They should write a...
Yeah, the Lemony Snicket. Is that what we're calling it now?
And they need 11 books to really cover everything that happened
And to be clear, they're children's books. So really, it just should not happen on a professional team. But are able to find that kill. There is sort of a light at the end of that
they got the Tom
unfortunate
Kench.
tunnel. They did get the Tom Kench. Shut down that perfect KDA.
Yeah, Fury? You remember when I was talking about that kill pressure?
Oh, my... The fail flash montage this game has been unfortunate as yet another member drops. I'm absolutely stunned here. Lost myself for a moment as
They're absolutely
two members
stunned.
just getting taken out of the fight immediately. Ever playing so confidently, and Samsung, I don't know what is happening to this lineup. They are losing control of this game so quickly.
Someone needs to check their keyboards. Did they swap their flash keys? Did the walls get thicker?
Something is going on here for Samsung. This is not a good look for a team that has played together for the entire past season. We were skeptical when Luna was coming in over Wraith. Both of those players seeing a decent amount of game time, but Wraith a little bit more veteran in that bot lane.
Wraith was also the last support that they played with in Week 13 against CJ.
But additionally, it's just not a support issue at this stage of the game. It's a coordination issue. It's minor mechanical issues, and Ever are more than happy to punish as they push in on the bottom side of the map, grabbing their first tier 2 of the game with confidence. Kindred, not even the highlight that we expected at this stage. It's actually a mixture of every single member, and more importantly, the small failings left and right from Samsung as a team.
Again, they need to slow down, control the bleeding, start setting up the vision, prepping for these objectives. This is crazy. Okay, there they go. I was like, there's no way they're entering that pit.
That is crazy. There he is, right there.
Oh, I see him. Oh, good one.
Got him.
Calm down, freak. Speaking of crazy.
Going in, gonna dodge
Where's
out
the
down
arrow?
the pillar. Arrow coming in, an
Oh!
excellent riposte, but you can't block it all. Crazy. Not gonna be enough. Is gonna dash on out of that one using the Grand Challenge, trying to stay alive, maybe able to make it to Savvy as Key comes in. Crazy, making it out, and Kube may not make it through the portal. The stun coming in as well. Luna could be in trouble. They've eaten up the Trundle. They've thrown him back into the team, and he will get taken down. Ever moving in to take out Samsung. Fury caught out, knocked out of the fight. Luna could be next as Airy moves in, getting ripped through so quickly.
Meanwhile, in the mid lane.
Brown not even able to do too much this turret,
And he
though.
has to completely back off his for the flank. Now, obviously, the big highlight there was Crazy's outplay on the... Yeah, rip. Run.
Crown could be in trouble here.
He's got his Emperor's Divide to crit choke point. Okay, top tier tower going down. So massive team fight that starts with a Crazy outplay from Crazy himself, getting the counter on the arrow. The big thing about that is the timing. I just want to emphasize this. This arrow is shot blind. He throws down the ward as it comes over the wall. And the thing is you'll see when people are being chased by Lee Sin, they'll throw wards behind them so they can see the skill shot coming as quickly as possible. The amount of frames to make that play for Crazy were so tiny, so great mechanical reaction time there from that player. And then from here, it's just a beautiful collapse. Again, using the mobility and the semi-global presence of having the double teleport as well as all of these gap closers, Ever are collapsing beautifully on Samsung and just ripping them apart.
And remember, this was all possible because Azir did not have TP, was not with the team, and additionally, Samsung burned so much just to try to pick up that kill onto Crazy. But Crazy, totally unconcerned, 202 to 170 in CS against his top laner, 3-0 and 3 that scoreline. If we were told that this was the player to watch, absolutely coming through here.
I feel like across the board, Ever has looked really good. He's had a great performance so far. Crazy, obviously making individual 1v1 outplays. Athena, understanding, when he has kill pressure and the appropriate times to split push. So, again, tier 2 towers have fallen, at least one of them has. This is typically where less experienced teams start to fumble when they need to make these big map-oriented decisions. So we'll see if Ever can close it out. I mean, we've seen LCK teams, Jin fail to do this, Jin
The long con. Oh, Jin Air. The best team to cash. The quintessential Korean casting experience, casting a Jin Air game. Now, a Samsung game, usually a little bit more variety. Sometimes they end quickly, sometimes they take a while, but
sometimes they flash into walls repeatedly.
It's true. This game, however, I imagine to be taken late and they'll ever have sudden confidence to close out here because Samsung are in no position to fight at this stage. 45k to 37.9, slowly building towards a 10k gold lead.
I mean, at this point, you're waiting for late game itemization breakpoints for Fury and Crown, but that's still terrifying because you're across from Kindred, Fiora, Kog'Maw, and Kassadin, so you technically have more carry threats there, although you will have a stronger front line when QB gets his defensive itemization. Right now just has an offensive item up and available, but it's pick potential. that's what Samsung needs to do. They need to find the picks. They need to use the Bard ultimate. They need to use the arrow. But they haven't been able to connect, and Ever just running away through objective control right now.
Exactly. 3 dragons to 1 here, slowly building towards that 5 dragon win condition. Ever don't have the confidence to push in for an inhibitor tower here. 5th dragon will surely give them the confidence to do so. Crazy. Quick riposte on that CC there. Not going to get locked up, not going to risk getting knocked out here. But overall, as you said, dominating performance for Ever so far, as Samsung are desperate to farm up. But once again, the dragon going to act as a clock for them. They have 12 minutes. Or they have to contest a dragon, but they have 12 minutes before they absolutely have to fight. They don't want Ever to take this first game.
They need to make a pick around where they have vision, which happens to be the Baron, simply because the dragon isn't in play right now. And again, look at the Baron vision control from Samsung. So something's still staying true in terms of how they set up for objectives. But you can't expend the amount of gold on that much vision and not get anything back for it. You need to get a kill, you need to get an objective, you need to get something back in the bank.
Crazy getting engaged on here. Gonna block the CC. Emperor's Divide coming in, trying to keep him out. He does still have his flash and is going to make it to safety.
He just got a teleport and the enchanted crystal arrow for that.
Dina gonna more than happy to punish, as he is on the bottom side of the map. Could try to push in for an inhibitor here. Does have a wave behind him. Crazy. Absolutely outplaying Samsung. All 5 members of Samsung, I feel like, have been completely dominated by Crazy, especially in that last play. Still had flash after all of that. Such amazing patience for this Fiora.
He just got a teleport and the enchanted crystal arrow.
I'm incredibly impressed by Crazy. You know, a challenger scene player performing this well in this situation. I mean, it's not just the power of Fiora. Crazy is absolutely indomitable right now. Fury, though, trying to create a little bit of vision control here. Does spot out Ares on the opposite side. Is going to lose that ward. Ever starting to pressure around the Baron pit. I think could take this one, but have to be careful. We've seen a lot of teams throw their leads away very quickly in the pit. Key moving in. Gonna tank the cocoon.
Good patience from Samsung right there to just not immediately face check into that. Likewise, Ever has done a great job clearing out that vision, denying and trying to force Samsung into a tough decision, but they kept their cool. They checked with the Spiderling, waiting on Hawkshot cooldowns.
Ever still posturing around the Barons, Kassadin and Fiora, pushing the top and bottom lanes respectively.
Yeah, but look, they're not getting impatient. They're not saying, you know, we've invested 30 to 45 seconds in trying to bait this Baron, as I say that they're finally going to commit. But they did it with the wave, so they didn't just immediately, okay, that didn't work, let's just go and start the Baron. They made sure that they're pressuring forward in all waves. Arrow connects.
Gonna be saved out by the Tom Kench here. The ultimate is coming in.
Stalling Baron.
Inside, trying to get the kill up onto Elise. That will be a stack for Kindred. Additionally, this Baron will go down in the favor of Ever. Samsung cannot catch a break as Luna goes down as well. Fury in trouble. Could get soloed out here. One more. All it's gonna take is another Null Sphere. Fury knocked down Baron forever.
Think of the anti-synergy that just happened in that team fight. The fact that Luna hits the Bard ultimate to delay the Baron timer, and Eve flashes into the pit looking for the steal while the Baron is invulnerable.
Unfortunate for Samsung as a whole. These moments, the lack of coordination, the lack of mechanical execution here for Samsung has been the end of them, as 2 inhibitors will go down in that exchange. Not even finding a single kill. 16-4 the scoreline. A 13k gold lead in the favor of Ever.
And so now the mentality is Samsung looking at this best of series, you know, what do they adjust in their draft phase to try to come back from this? And
It's not...
And it's not even the Kindred. Like,
Exactly.
I definitely think it's the Fiora. Now, Kindred was the priority pick. Fiora was picked up in 2nd rotation. So I doubt that we'll see Fiora go through, although Samsung will be on blue side, so they could try to priority pick Denial away from Ever. But Crazy should not be allowed to have this champion again.
Of course, Athena denying a little bit of camps there. But the issue is, in terms of execution, I agree that Fiora, I believe, is the only true problem champion here. Maybe Tom Kench as well.
Tom Kench is a definite problem, but there's...
The bigger problem is Samsung's execution with the lineup that they had. It doesn't matter what they pick. If they're not comfortable playing it, if they continue to make those flash mistakes. I mean, how many burned flashes do we see? 3, 4 this game? Failed flashes from professional players? Whatever kind of nerves are holding Samsung back right now, they need to dispel them and focus on the game, because they are quickly losing this one.
This should be just a very systematic closeout from Ever at this point, and I absolutely think you're right. It just came down to individual mechanical performance before you can even start looking at comp versus comp, which is a whole nother issue.
Agreed. They may try to dive this tower. Grand challenge coming out as they move in Akube. That Trundle was absolutely demolished. Fury could be in trouble next as well. Kassadin still has the ult able to get in there, finding yet another kill. The Samsung the Kassadin Fiora duo absolutely unstoppable. Lamb's spike going down just to keep the team alive. Kassadin will be safe on this one as well. Samsung not finding anything, cannot get a single kill. Every single member going to drop. Crown will make it out with his life, but Ever make it out with game 1.
In a dominating fashion, 20-4, and look at how long Crown got free hits on the back half of that, and it just speaks to how quickly and how far ahead Ever got. He was doing negative damage. He might as well have been healing the enemy team with those Sand Soldiers.
One of the weaknesses we talked about as Azir just is not as efficient in the teleport heavy meta, not able to find those early advantages by TP and delaying those TP ganks, just really non-existent.
And the interesting thing is if you look across Samsung's most played champions, so their 6 most played, most picked champions are Azir, Maokai, Sivir, Hecarim, Victor, and Nidalee. And how many of those champions are actually relevant in the current iteration of the meta?
It's just a very odd composition overall. It looks like something from a very different era of League of Legends. Now, I love Bard as a champion, but if you're going to pick a Bard, he can be the one weird champion on your composition is what it feels like, because he's very unique in what he does. He can be very powerful, but you can't pick him with champions that are not powerhouses, and that Trundle is not a powerhouse, not a very powerful pick overall. And just didn't seem to do much of anything. Fell behind early, was low impact in the team fights. I thought the pillar would do more, but Azir just wasn't able to dish out the damage for that zone control to be relevant.
I mean, we saw the idea of how it would function into the Fiora a couple of times. It worked out well for them, but I do agree. And of course, game 1, you can start to experiment with things like that, kind of figure out what you want to take away from it. But at this point, I think it's either priority, either pick it away or ban it. Don't give it to Crazy again.
And I never thought we would see a game where Kindred was not the issue when Kindred made it through after those first 2 dominating performances earlier yesterday, actually. And I think we're just going to have to see how these teams want to adapt. Guys, we're going to take a quick 5-minute break, but we'll be back with game 2 of Ever versus Samsung Galaxy. Don't touch that browser.
동맹에 참여하라. 그리고 세계를 정복하라. 게임 오브 워 지금 무료로 다운받으세요.
LTE 시대 놀랄 만큼 속도가 빨라졌습니다. 그런데 말입니다. 놀랄 만큼 요금도 비싸졌습니다. LTE 통신비 대안을 찾자. 헬로 모바일 다이렉트. 동영상 하나 여는 게 지갑 여는 것 같습니까? 음악을 듣는데 데이터 떨어지는 소리가 들립니까? LTE 통신비 대안을 찾자. 헬로 모바일 다이렉트.
편의점 택배구만. 15년 됐다지. 싸지, 가깝지, 잘 가지. 편하더군. 어른 얘기하는 대수.
인터넷 예약하면 더 편해요. CU에서?
보내 CU.
바라만 볼 것인가? Save the world. 힛.
2연분 그가 만든 짜장면도 가루스프를 뿌리면 라면이 됩니다.
이래야 진짜 짜장이죠.
라면이 아니다. 짜장면이다.
발도 짜장면.
Show me how to lie, you're getting better all the time and turning all against one 자, 엘레바이 자, 돌려주고.
자, 레이저 안 맞습니다. 안 맞네요. 맞네요. 맞고 공중 판정이 아닌가요?
자, 공격 하지만 또
한 번 더.
자, 3세
레이저 맞추고.
레이저 맞출 때 레이저 확장.
버킹 로우랑 엘보 이제 강제로 걸려야 돼요.
자,
로우랑 엘보를 놔준다. 자,
페이스가 모으는데요.
이거 완전히 말렸는데요. 자, 시크릿
또 이러면 막 버큰걸 때리면
퍼펙이죠.
이번 라운드도 퍼펙으로
마무리됩니다.
시크릿 우승.
정말 쟁쟁하신 분들이 많이 올라오셨는데 어떻게 제가 마지막까지 그냥 포기 안 하고 하자는 생각밖에 없었는데 어떻게 지고 있는 상황에서도 잘 역전 같은 것도 좀 많았던 것 같고 좀 제가 생각했던 대로 잘 준비한 대로 그대로 돼가지고 그게 되게 좋았던 것 같습니다. 이번에 안주하지 않고 더 지금보다 준비를 더 체계적으로 하고 또 일본에 있는 유저들의 영상도 많이 봐서 이제 좀 파악도 많이 한 다음에 확실하게 준비를 해서 일본을 갈 생각입니다. 한국 철권에 자존심을 걸고 꼭 반드시 우승하고 돌아오겠습니다. 화이팅!
이번에 KeSPA 사업에서 꼴등제를 꼭 이기고 싶어요.
패기로 열심히 해보면 이길 수도 있지 않을까.
그렇게 차이가 많이 난다고 생각하지 않기 때문에 할만하다고 생각해요.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back for Game 2 between Samsung Galaxy and Ever. And after a dominating first performance from Ever, we have to wonder how Samsung is going to recover. My name is Daniel C. for Dracos. With me is Ryan Froskerin Moore. Froskerin, a lot went wrong in that first game for Samsung, but what needs to change? What needs to happen?
I think the biggest issue right now is mechanically Samsung needs to tune up their performance across the board. There are a lot of, like you said, happy little accidents, mechanical missteps, flashes, teleports getting
Flashy
canceled.
plays. We could say a lot of flashy plays, not the good kind.
Yeah, it's just, it's kind of interesting. Obviously, we're in the off season, but typically Korean teams don't really take a break.
Wow.
I mean,
burns.
No, they can sit. I mean, they win all the time. They play all the time. I mean, we saw the OGN fall finals in Berlin.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
It's a nice change of pace to host them in Berlin. Thank you, Riot Games. Of course, our sponsors for today's broadcast, Azubu, as well as Longzhu and Naver, our title sponsor. Guys, if you want to check out the English broadcast on a different platform, you can always download Naver's app V, where you can find the English stream of this broadcast, as well as connect with your favorite pros. Pictures, videos, and other things.
But music.
I'm loving this. As we go into Champ Select, it's going to be Samsung Galaxy this time on the blue side. Ever on the red. Callista. Kindred now getting banned out by Ever. They like using it, but they don't want it used against them. Kassadin quick to follow. Athena's performance on that was, in fact, pretty dominating.
I'm not terribly against this ban. I think it could be better spent elsewhere, but I definitely think that Athena, like you said, had a great performance on it. Crown, though. We talked about how his primary champion is Azir. I really don't feel that Azir is that great in the double teleport meta. He's not awful, but I just feel like he's outclassed by other mid laners, and we'll see if those other mid laners get through. Lulu's been pretty much perma-banned for the entirety of the tournament so far. I think she got through twice.
Yeah, once I know in the hands of Jin Air on a Kog'Maw-based composition.
I think they got her twice, back-to-back Jin Air.
Pilot was absolutely dominant on that Kog'Maw. We had a Lulu there to protect him.
Nidalee being targeted away from Eve.
No surprise to see that carry jungler taken away from Eve. Now Tahm Kench taken out as well. Ever not willing to give those power picks away. However, they are going to let the Gangplank through here for Kuve. It's been a long time since we've seen a Gangplank let through outside of that Pathos Young Boss set. However, they've also given up Rise, and I have to say, I think Rise is the more powerful pick after the most recent Gangplank nerfs.
Again, I got the LGD prediction wrong, but I predict this for the tournament. I said it yesterday, I'll say it again. Rise is going to be must pick or ban for the entirety of the tournament. I think that champion is just way too potent and powerful right now. And the thing about it is the targetable CC. So the way to beat Rise, I think the answer is probably taking a Twisted Fate, just because you have to wave clear and shove into him. Now Crown, again, an Azir player, Azir can do that fairly well, but again, Rise takes the double TP, teleports into the bot lane, has the insta CC, just blows someone up.
Absolutely lethal once again. Saw it from Faker. Bard, of course, pick we don't see too much of. Saw it from Luna last game. Now going to be busted out here by Key.
The gauntlet has been thrown down.
I feel like this is... Bard is excellent. I love seeing Bard, but this is a very oddball pick to swap from Tahm Kench to Bard. Definitely not what we consider a top tier sport, more of a niche kind of pick. Morgana also taken up on the opposite side, so some interesting picks here on both sides. Elise also going to be locked in for Eve. I think no surprises there overall. Just a very comfortable champion for Eve at this stage.
Yeah, no surprise. Kind of curious if Morgana is being flexed in any sort of position, if we're going to see her in the mid lane, or Luna taking his hands on her.
Morgana with the black shield as well as
the best construction of that sentence.
No, not definitely. A little bit of a struggle. But I feel ya. We've all been there.
We're all feeling.
No. Crown, of course, if he does decide to take this Morgana mid lane, will have the black shield as well as the dark binding. Can potentially stay safe against the Rise, but unfortunately, Rise so strong in the current meta that there's not really any mid laner that has a reasonable amount of kill pressure on him. Just far too much damage, far too much safety with that chain snare. Rek'Sai also going to get locked in. So a lot of global pressure on the comp currently between the Bard, the Rise with TP, and the Rek'Sai with the built in global mobility. We'll have to see what the final pick is going to be here, and if Crazy is going to take this Rise into the top lane, or if Athena will utilize it in the mid.
There's also a lot of siege pressure. So you think about a pick like Rise, you don't necessarily think about siege just because he can't clear waves, especially in his early game. I mean, he can if he procs his ultimate, but it's not something he's known for comparatively to champions like Victor and Azir. But when he walks towards a tower, it's the same idea of if Veigar walks towards a tower. You're terrified of the CC lock, you're terrified of the fact that he can very easily dive, he can very easily combo and keep you held down. So in tandem with the Tristana pickup, there's actually a lot of pressure for being able to take towers easily.
We'll have to see if that's something that ever want to utilize. Of course, their mid-game shot calling was quite confident as they punished Samsung's mistakes left and right. We'll have to see once the Rise starts to power up if they utilize the power to the fullest potential. Mundo.
It's got some changes.
Interesting pick. Normally something we see from Shy over on CJN. This is sort of his pocket pick. It looks like Kube may be planning to make it his own. And yeah, Mundo, of course, with the new changes to Masochism, it is an auto attack reset and does a pretty sizable amount of damage as well. So I'm excited to see the new Mundo being busted out here today. Definitely one of my favorite champions. Wondering how it's going to fare, though, as it looks like Fiora going to be the lock-in here for Crazy in the top lane.
And this is what we said, you know, what do you target in your draft phase for Samsung, and what are you going to take away? I pointed out at Crazy's Fiora, I thought he had a great performance on that, showed a high mechanical ceiling for the champion. Obviously, she has crazy potential to carry, but instead they go for Athena's Cassidy, which also had a great score line, and never mind, looks like he's switching back and forth between Riven, Fiora, for that Mundo matchup.
We'll have to see what gets locked in here in the meantime. I just want to comment, every time you make a pun, you look at me. You stop looking at the screen and you look at me, and I don't know what you're waiting for.
I just want your acceptance.
Every time I make a pun, you call me freak, and then stop talking to me for 30 seconds. Just saying, inconsistency here. It does, however, look like the Riven is going to get locked in for Crazy in the top lane. Now, we saw Sohwan take this one yesterday, and despite being a Riven main, wasn't the most impactful performance.
I mean, he did well.
Wasn't the carry style that we were expecting from a player
I can agree with that
spams Riven and solo queue. Not sure if Crazy has played a ton of this one, but given his proficiency with Fiora, we have to assume that he will be comfortable. Mundo versus Riven, not a matchup we've seen in a long time. Rise versus Gangplank in the mid lane, two laners who are going to scale up incredibly well, but with the most recent set of nerfs, do you really think Crown is going to be able to lane comfortably here?
I'm actually really curious. I mean, GP obviously in a shorter lane, his barrels mean that much more in terms of kind of their AoE spread. It's the dragon control, which is actually really interesting, and the power points which GP and Rise both has. So obviously Rise is going to be an item timing-based champion, where his items need to stack with Rod of Ages, the tier, whereas GP has one of the most expensive builds in the game with the Trinity Force into the Infinity Edge, making sure he has that crit. So third dragon is where they find their power, like their item breakpoints, to be powerful. So again, it goes back to the siege idea for me. If you have Tristana, if you have Rise, threaten with the hard CC, threaten with the satchel, take down towers for a fast push, amass a global gold advantage through the towers, and then go into that third dragon with a massive gold advantage.
Well, it looks like a lot of power picks on both sides for each of these teams. Can Samsung Galaxy get a win and tie it up here, or will they go down and be knocked out of the tournament by the challenger team ever? We'll be right back with Game 2 in just a moment. Here we are back in Game 2. Samsung Galaxy slowly pushing out of their jungle, trying to set up some vision control. Wherever looking quite confident, starts to move in members on the top side. Kube going to get stunned up. That's an early play. Loken, aggressive rocket jump in, and the quick flash from Kube escape. Trying to shut Samsung down early as they push in for vision here on the top side of the map.
Yeah, a brilliant little evade through the top side tri-brush. Gotta just eject the word little from my vocabulary right now. Darn you, Bob Ross. They get some deep vision, though, checking for a lane swap. Now, we did have an initiated lane swap last game by Ever. We'll see if they do the same thing this time around. Again, fast push strategy. Tristana's going to have much more control over the wave than the likes of Fury on this Varus pickup.
Speaking of Fury and Luna moving up to get some lane swap vision of their own. The remaining members of Ever did stand on a ward there for a little bit, so Samsung should feel pretty comfortable moving through this side of the jungle. Looks like we may see a double jungle start here from both sides. Mundo, of course, without flash. It'll be interesting to see if Ares can punish this one, but both teams taking this pretty calmly, pretty slowly. However, starting on the blue side here for Rek'Sai and Riven could take away some of Elise's early jungle.
Starting on their safe side and then having the numbers advantage so they can walk in and, like you said, take away Rek'Sai's red buff. Should just be vertical jungling from both sides.
Crown taking a little bit of damage here as both teams go through to clear their jungle. Already Varus in the bottom lane starting to stack up farm. Morgana making an aggressive roam to the mid lane. If Luna lands this binding, it could be huge as Athena has taken a decent amount of damage. The creep wave will protect him. Moving out, though, may be the wrong choice. Gonna have to flash here. Needed to just back up into that creep wave towards the tower, I think. But either way, a flash traded for his life and a solid early aggressive level 1 roam from Luna.
Yeah, I kind of agree. The creep wave was really well timed to kind of cover him there, but Luna does create space, and like I said, we're going to just see some basic vertical jungling. Crazy, though, responding with Ki, so this will be a 3-man. Yeah.
Snare going to lock him down. Crown has to flash away from this one. Is going to get stunned out here. The exhaust going to go down onto Crazy. Crazy could be in trouble as the binding goes in. Luna with a cheeky binding. Gonna snag that one.
The style points to flash forwards. The dark binding doesn't have to travel a very long distance and just slaps him with the first blood. Now, not as potent just because it did go onto the Morgana out of everyone, but really nice counterplay. But this is the power of Rise. But
Kube could be in trouble. Ki moving in, has the Cosmic Binding leveled up, should be able to stun this Mundo. Creeps are going to block it out. The explosive shot is going to take him down, and Loken snagging a quick kill. An aggressive game already.
Yeah, not quite sure why he burned the teleport up there. It's a very easy call because the wave is already pushing in to just move your jungler and support to the top side of the map and look for the dive. So I feel like Kuvi got what he deserved, making that call to teleport so early without any protection from his jungler or Luna.
And definitely not what we were expecting from Kube in this early game. Expected him to learn after his previous teleport mistakes in game 1, but still apparently struggling to adapt. Have to tighten up the hinges a little bit on this one.
Put the door back on the hinges, then we can think about Ever just kicked it off the first game.
Hopefully, Ever will not be able to just walk through that door. Samsung Galaxy looking a little bit more comfortable. Crown, despite going down early, still comfortably farming here in this lane. 20-12 the CS score. Denying Athena any more gold will make it difficult to get that early tier stacking.
Well, really this comes down to the fact that Athena's flash was forced out so early with the initial gank from Luna onto the mid lane, and so much time lost running off to the side. So that's why you're seeing that pretty sizable CS discrepancy this early on into the game.
One of the big question marks for this game is going to be that Varus in the bottom lane. Now Fury, of course, a very accomplished player on a large variety of champions. Varus, not something we see as much from just about anybody. What is Varus going to bring to this team composition?
I will answer you, but I quickly want to see what Rek'Sai is going to do, if anything at all. Just going to break chance on a ward.
Yep, got him.
I wanted to try to give you a good handoff, and Harry's just like, nah. Varus is going to offer a lot of short range control in front of him, naturally with his ultimate with the CC chain. Every time
I want to move in. This Crown just going to walk away from this one, however. Ares hungry for blood here in the mid lane, wants to get back. Ever really disappointed after that last dive into the mid lane. Crown, that exhaust, I think, really what shut that whole thing down initially in there. They know it's down now. They want to take this opportunity to get a lead here. Gangplank looking much stronger than we initially expected him to be.
Yes, Gangplank Crown looks good right now, but I cannot stress this enough. He got a very early level 1 gank from his support to put him in this position of power. And Ares has tried to even the playing field twice now, but it's that classic moment where Olaf walks into your lane, throws the axe, misses, and then walks out. Rek'Sai is just kind of like burrowing through.
Not to bring back China into this, but I think we call that the clear love, where you just wander into the
We call
lane
that the
and
cacao. Get out of here.
Things have changed. But
600 damage to champions.
I don't think the mid lane counts as the jungle, and I thought cacao never. Anyway, this is Korea. We got to stay focused here, of course. Kuve in the top lane, looking much more comfortable than I thought he would in this Riven matchup. The new map is making it a little bit easier to trade. Crazy does not seem eager at all. And of course, without a flash at his disposal, may have to play just more back in general.
Woo!
Fury, yeah, making good advantage of that poke. Piercing arrow, of course, taking a huge chunk of Logan's health out.
Curious where Fury's going to itemize on the Varus. If we see Varus anywhere, unless you're in the LMS, you typically see him in the mid lane with a very Jace-oriented style of build.
To be fair, he's a flex pick on the Flash Wolves.
Too deep.
Moving in, Luna looks like may go for the binding. Actually, just going to back
No, he's not
going to
go for the binding unless he has jungle pressure help. You've got a huge item advantage between Loken and Fury. Fury's sitting with a Doran's blade versus the pickaxe. If you find that binding, you're not winning. Like, you have to hit the binding and then, like, hit the Q and just repeat that several times to win this at this point.
Binding's going left. Not going to find that one. Kuve starting to look a little bit less comfortable in these trades. They've been dishing out a lot of damage with just that Doran's blade. However, level 6 for Kuve will mean that he has a decent amount of sustain added to that kit. Crazy approaching as well, though. Could be an interesting fight here.
I was watching Fury's build. He bought 2 pickaxes and then he sold one. So he has enough to go for the BF sword, and this is what I was curious what kind of build he was going to go for. It is going to be more that traditional Jace style build for Varus because he has the tier available to him, so looking for the Muramana. And not going to expend his money on the BF sword. So pickaxe tier picked up for Varus. Looking for the Q spam. We've got Legolas.
Of course, that Varus build incredibly popular in the mid lane, but once again, not something we see so much on the bottom side of the map. Here, a little bit of a tough gold expenditure to give up that early on will mean that Tristana can purchase this Avarice Blade without losing any combat stats, without falling behind here.
I'm glad that you point that out. So naturally, Avarice Blade works wonderfully with Tristana just with its more natural tendency to push anyway, so you get more gold. You're able to amass more gold with it off of its passive. But because Varus is taking the tier, and tier obviously has pretty much 0 battle stats, you got some sweet mana, it's not as punishing because you have the crit cloak. So, really like the itemization here.
Be interesting to see what happens when these bot lanes do decide to fight. Although it appears that both junglers are not giving too much attention to that side of the map. Mid lane still mostly the focus. Rek'Sai at least both on the top. Mundo starting to push in this Riven. Neither one of these top laners has backed yet. Ares finally coming up for the gank. Kuve could be in trouble here. Does not have a whole lot of vision control. Moving down potentially to place a ward. Could walk right into the eager jaws of Ares, but Ares just going to back off. Neither team getting too aggressive this time around. learned from the explosive nature of game one. Samsung not so quick to throw away a lead.
Naturally, Samsung, this is kind of their last chance because, again, this is a best of 3. So if Samsung lose here, they're out of the KeSPA Cup. It makes sense to me that they would play more of a slow-paced game. You don't want to snowball any sort of disadvantage by trying to make very aggressive early-level plays. Although, as I said, that we did have a level 1 gank on mid lane from Luna. But just really playing back, funneling the farm into the appropriate carries. You're winning in the mid lane. Gangplank's build incredibly expensive, so no reason to really pressure.
Brown looking quite comfortable there. Going to cleanse out of the first snare with those oranges. Get caught with the second one, but will be under the tower and so will be safe. Athena clearly hungry for blood, but just not finding a good opportunity to go in. Not nearly as much kill pressure as he would like. Gangplank farming up very quickly, dishing out a lot of damage as Kube and Crazy are going to go back and forth. The Burning Agony going to stop that CC from being too effective. Neither lane appears to have a really massive advantage at this stage. Rise may be over Gangplank, but Gangplank still farming very comfortably.
There's a 10 CS difference in the top lane, however. And now the question becomes, you know, who's going to be more useful in this mid to late game? The 5v5 or the skirmish scenario? Is it going to be the Mundo or is it going to be the Ribbon? And frankly, I don't actually know the answer to that one. I think Mundo is very powerful right now with the recent changes as a dragon is being started. Varus Arrow not connecting.
Very early there. Now the big thing about Piercing Arrow is that it can outdamage Smite in a lot of these exchanges. So throwing it out so early, a little bit sloppy, I think, from there. Could have potentially gone for the steal, but either way, Samsung Galaxy are just going to have to give that one up. Eve coming down now onto the bottom side of the map to try to get something back in return. But even then, it would be a barely even trade. Key caught out, does have the ultimate, but not even going to have time to use it. So much damage from the Elise and Varus. Elise will snag that kill for Samsung.
And the reason why, I mean, obviously a beautiful gank, but kind of the reason why that dragon was so uncontested is uncharacteristically, Samsung actually don't have great vision control this game. Far more vision, both defensively and offensively, has been acquired by Ever. So losing that free objective, they do manage to pick up the kill in the bottom lane, but what does that actually translate into in terms of advantage anywhere on the map?
Ares, of course, trying to find greater advantage. As you said, not a whole lot gained from that kill on the side of Samsung. Fury, though, of course, is going to have to back off here on the bottom side of the map. Still looking like a very even game. Samsung finding small leads here and there, mostly through farm in the mid lane and in the top lane. Well, top lane now just about evened up.
The jungle.
Jungle, that's what I was looking for.
It's because it doesn't look as big, but I mean that many creeps. Jungle creeps are obviously worth more than lane creeps, although Elise has been taking some from the lanes. She's been pruning a bit.
Definitely the jungle tax, the infamous solo queue jungle tax that, as a solo queue jungler, I can safely say is my favorite part. They show up, do nothing, take some creeps.
He's gonna dive this.
Eve, of course.
He doesn't have enough information on where Ares is.
Additionally, Kube already going to have to blow his ult defensively, so really not too many tools to dive that tower. Binding will go down on the key. Not going to follow that one up, though. Not really an opportunity. Rise getting aggressive here onto Crown in the mid lane, but Kube could be in trouble flashing over there. Mundo will go down, but it is the 1-for-1 trade. A quick exchange, and Eve was not there. That would have just been a 1-for-0 exchange. So good on Samsung to be there, but Kube falling a little bit flat here in these 1v1 exchanges.
And even Crown's Gangplank ultimate was used, so that was technically 3 people from Samsung were involved onto that kill, and Crazy still managed to find a return kill on that, as well as feed a lot of this CS into Ares. We do have the initial back from both top laners. Now, it's been 13 minutes in the game, and neither of them had backed. They don't have a B button. They actually had to die to go back. We have an immediate itemization of a Sunfire. No surprises there. Sunfire is incredibly cost efficient when it's itemized first. Obviously, it also synergizes incredibly well with Mundo's ability to push waves with his W. But on the other side, you have the immediate Black Cleaver out of Crazy. So I really want to see this Riven get involved elsewhere on the map and make use of her kill pressure.
And of course, with the most recent changes to Riven, that ultimate will have its cooldown increased by a pretty significant margin. So the 20% cooldown reduction from Black Cleaver will help out. Make it a little bit easier in those fight situations. Loken gonna have to play careful around those bindings, but nothing gonna land here on the bottom side of the map. So once again, despite aggression in the top lane, we appear to have reset and be back to a pretty neutral map overall.
Next big item is going to be that Rod of Ages start for Athena. We are closing in on that 15-minute mark, where it's typically where you want to have that. He was put back, or put behind relatively early, although he's made a good job compensating for that. 122 to 128 currently. He was down about 20 CS earlier in the game. But still needs to get his recall timer in, which should be right about now.
Crown waiting a couple of extra seconds to throw down the parlay, giving up a couple hundred of Eve's health just to make sure you get that 8 extra gold off the blue buff. Farming up very well, though, 133 to 126. As you said, Rod of Ages is going to come out before the 15-minute mark, so we're just about right on time coming in for this rise. So despite falling behind earlier on, is doing a great job of catching up here in the middle.
Okay, so you have the tier, you have the Rod of Ages picked up on time. Big break point is going to be the Trinity Force completed for Crown, so the initial part of his very expensive build. On top of the fact that Fury's finished his Muramana, so he has that up and online for this dragon in 1 minute 30 seconds. Samsung are in a decent position to fight this, especially if they lay down the poke with Fury. You can see that damage from the piercing arrows really starting to take off.
Fury hungering to throw out that ultimate there, but knows that Tristana has the rocket jump and he will not have enough mana to follow up after the ultimate. Luna throwing out these bindings left and right, also not going to find any purchase here. But Samsung are setting up for that dragon, as you said they would. And may be able to take it here uncontested. Mid lane still duking it out, however. Gangplank has finally finished the Trinity Force. We'll be able to trade a little bit more effectively. And meanwhile on the top lane, Kuve really struggling against Crazy here, as the tower is actually quite close to dropping.
Ever just need to buy time for Tristana to amass about 500 gold. She's looking for that Infinity Edge.
Ares in trouble.
It's fine. So if they can give Loken one more recall, this will be a much better fight for them. And again, the win condition for this dragon fight is still on Fury laying down the initial poke. Now Gangplank also has great dragon control. I like to think of him as kind of like the new Rumble of the dragon pit, just because of how much surface area his ultimate covers. Just lay that right over the dragon pit or right in front of it. It's great.
Definitely, actually really liking the way that Ever are playing this game. Not normally very suspicious of challenger teams against more standard teams. We see it in NA and EU a lot. It's usually just a very dominating matchup. It's rare that we see a challenger team so comfortable on such a high-pressure stage, but Ever are doing an incredibly good job here. Key especially, a little bit less so this game, now that he does not have the Tahm Kench at his disposal, but I'm loving this guy's champion pool so far. All of the weird kind of newer age supports have been busted out.
The new age support player, Key, Bard, Tahm Kench.
Weird stuff.
We had the extra recall given to Tristana. She has the Infinity Edge. I'm done.
You done?
Yeah.
All right. Tristana may not be, though. Loken now may be hungry for the fights. Taking a lot of poke damage here, though. The piercing arrow is going to come out.
And look at how the tides have shifted with that item advantage, having the crit battle stat ready for this team fight, as well as great pressure from Athena in that mid lane to force Crown back.
Ever now pushing in to take this dragon.
Going for it.
Could try to get in there, but there's a lot of damage here on the side. Arrow not going to be charged up here. They are just going to smite that one out. Binding was sent in, but not going to find a home on that dragon.
Samsung just not being proactive enough, when they had the slight item advantage to try to make that dragon happen again. And it really just goes back to we've seen fantastic setup and preparation in terms of vision control from Ever. It gave them the information. It allowed them to stall out long enough to get the extra recall timers to even up the item discrepancy and then take the free objective. And that's normally what Samsung have typically been good at over the course of the summer LCK.
Not something that they've been doing so well about today. They have plenty of time to change that, though. It's very early in the game still. Looks like they may just try to siege down this tower. Forest, of course, so
Teleport
much pressure
behind
with
them.
the error. TP coming in. The knockup goes down as well. Black Shield will get Eve out. Tempered Fate going to hit Fury. The perfect target is Crazy, and Athena are moving in from the back. Luna, the desperate Soul Shackles, will not protect the team, and Athena barely making it to safety as two members of Samsung get absolutely obliterated. They're not done yet. Gangplank trying to find a parlay as the briefcase will find a home. Bard getting taken out. One more barrel may take down Crazy. Gangplank with the speed up moving in here as well. Eve jumping in onto Loken. Gonna get popped as the reset comes through the tunnel, taking Ares to safety. And an excellent little play there from Ever.
In the end, it is a 3-for-2. QV coming up pretty big on the backside to try to make something out of that team fight, but still You know, actually, with them getting the tower, I'm going to give that to Samsung, but Ever really hadn't spent all of the gold that they had just amassed earlier, so...
Definitely some very solid mechanical plays coming in from Ever, but just felt like the positioning and the timing was just a little bit off. A lot of time was spent with Ribbon and Rise running towards that team fight, not able to engage nearly on time. And why don't you take us through this one from the start?
So the big thing that you pointed out was the fact that this Bard ultimate is going to tag Fury, which pretty much forces Samsung in a very poor decision. Now, we do have Crown setting down the ultimate to try to dissuade them from going on Fury, but like you said, it's a lot of split target, a lot of time spent running around inside that Gangplank ultimate. From here, I think Crazy was a bit too overzealous, pressuring forward when they had already picked up the kill. They had survived the Gangplank ultimate, so just walk away, try to heal yourself up off of your pots, and compensate for dissuading them off of that tower. But overcommitting makes them lose that bottom tier tower.
Definitely a concern for Ever. Aggressive play, a good sign, but Samsung finally able to punish when they overextend. At least in that instance. Fury trying to poke out a little bit here. Siege down this mid lane, as far as is kind of known for doing. Has picked up an immense amount of cooldown reduction with his most recent back. The Boots of Lucidity, as well as the Brutalizer.
Still needs that Muramana to upgrade itself. Likewise, we're about to hit Rise getting his Athenes. So a lot more defensive stats quickly going to be coming in within the next 5 minutes.
And additionally, in the mid lane, we have that Avarice Blade as well as the BF Sword coming in for Gangplank. So may not have the Infinity Edge quite yet, but a massive increase in the damage output here on that parlay.
Yeah, he's got the crit available to him as well, which is pretty much where GP's massive damage spike comes from. If he lays down enough barrels and hits you with a crit, can pretty much destroy teams, destroy championships.
That's what we've seen. I mean, you know, throwing it back to the regional qualifier for Worlds. Jin Air taking out in a game 5. GBM gets his hand on that Gangplank, and we've seen exactly what a talented Gangplank can do. Similarly, Pawn in China. A good Gangplank, a fed Gangplank, or a farmed Gangplank. All those things are just absolutely terrifying to play against.
I think Pawn in that one playoff of crit did like 14.
Yeah, he hit 4 members and almost
1,400 damage across 4 members.
This is not that era of Gangplank, though, to be fair. Gangplank has been toned down a little bit. We'll still have a massive damage output, but not necessarily going to be one-shotting every single target with a single barrel. Of course, Ares playing out the Scuttle Crab, trying to lay down some vision. The Dragon is 2 minutes away. So
setting up their triangle vision for the Dragon.
Tina getting aggressive here on the bottom side of the map, more than comfortable pushing in against Kuve. Kuve, very lackluster MR at this point in the game. He's been itemizing to fight that Ribbon. And Ever just playing very aggressive, pushing out these waves, trying to get control on the bottom side of the map as Loken gets this tower completely for free. Holding back there, using the rocket jump to make it to safety, as Samsung Galaxy just kind of slowly losing out here. The gold now in the favor of Ever after that last tower is getting taken down, and posturing around to take the next Dragon as well.
And this is what we were talking about in Champion Select, that Rise and Gangplank are much more powerful around this timing window of Dragon 3, because that's when their items are stacked up and starting to really come out. I expected a lot of burst damage coming out there. Loken just getting tagged.
The short hop to try to make it to safety, however, I believe only the barrel hit. The piercing arrow did not, so not going to get nearly as much damage as they'd like. If they had hit all of those abilities, they may have found a kill there, but once again, slight errors from Samsung, kind of holding them back from finding greater advantage. We saw Morgana binding and Cocoon thrown out at the Rek'Sai ultimate. Neither of them quite had the timer figuring out, so neither were going to land. But Samsung will find the tower here.
And that's the thing. They didn't find the kill, but they got exactly what they wanted, which was just to pressure and siege down the mid lane, give them some sort of breathing room and place to run so they can walk over to this Dragon, clear out the vision, and start setting up their own. Both teams are well equipped to try to fight this one, but are very different about how they go about the team fights. You need poke, you need setup time from Samsung's composition. Lay down the piercing arrows, have your casks set up, and then have QV lead the back half of the fight by being a true tank. On the other side, Crazy getting onto that back line, immediately popping someone with the CC from Athena's Rise, and then just have Loken long sustain up from the back line. So more of a traditional 5v5 where you set your line of scrimmage versus a poke-oriented comp.
Definitely something we have to watch out for. Key's Bard ultimate is going to be absolutely crucial for allowing Rise and Ribbon to get deep into the enemy backlines. So you have to be careful. Eve, unfortunately, realizing the little bit of Bard versus Elise favoritism in that matchup, as the spiders can be used against her to bind her to her own allied units. Athena taking a small amount of poke, but neither team pushing too far in for this dragon control. We have seen Ever kind of just start these with confidence in the past, but Samsung Galaxy appear determined to fight around this third dragon.
And Samsung Galaxy,
Here comes the ult. It is going to hit too. This is the perfect setup. He will get the free binding as well. Gangplank ult coming in, but Riven is ripping through those members. Crown locked out of the fight briefly as Ares tries to find a little bit more, but Ever, quick Bard ult and a quick couple kills.
and Samsung didn't get the setup on their composition. They didn't get to layer the poke. The Gangplank ultimate is being used reactively immediately. As soon as the Bard ult goes down, he sets down the GP cannon barrage to try to dissuade Ever from committing on it. Arrow almost connects with Dragon, but a great team fight and a free objective for Ever.
Takes it down to 55 health, but look at this fight once again. A beautiful Tempered Fate guarantees the Cosmic Binding on 2, and the Gangplank ult used in the center there, but not finding too great an advantage. Fury doing his best to disengage with that ultimate, but really what it comes down to is when Ryze and Riven are already on top of your backline, it is far too late.
And you need to make sure that they're dissuaded from doing that because you've taken them past half health, so they can't confidently just jump on top of you. You need to hit the arrows, you need to have the barrels, and you need the vision to do that safely. And frankly, Ever have just been outwarding Samsung every step of the way.
And that's something that we praised Samsung for earlier on. They spent so much money on those wards in Games 1, but did not use them effectively, and now they're spending
less money on wards and not able to
still not using
cover
them
their
effectively.
flanks.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate face for Samsung right now. Really expected more from this team. They still have a lot of opportunities to step up in this game. Still a very strong composition if they can execute it properly. But right now, Ever just looking much more comfortable in this matchup.
How cool would it be if Ever joined Pathos in the round of 8 as another Korean challenger team in a tournament that's frankly been stacked with every single LCK team? You know, looking at these brackets, a lot of people favored the LCK teams. Obviously, you have the professional experience, but just coming back to the implications of this tournament, yes, there's a big prize purse on the line, 88,000 USD. There's a ticket and the chance to represent Korea in the I Am Clone qualifier, but a lot of these LCK teams are using this off-season time, this KeSPA Cup, to test out new rosters, to strut new talent, as opposed to just going hard on the paint.
Ryze takes down the tower there on the bottom side. But no, you're completely right. And one of the big things that we said about Najin after they lost out to Anarchy yesterday was that may have been the less experienced roster talking in that exchange. But today, Samsung using the same roster that they always have and still being taken down here by Ever playing incredibly well in this moment. They may actually be able to advance onto the round of 8, and it would be a huge showing of confidence. Although, remember, KT Rolster and Pathos was already decided matchup, so no matter whether if they win out here today, they will be facing another LCK team. There is no easy road. They will not face another challenger team. It'll only get harder from here in the round of 8.
They lost to Spinu on their chance to the LCK, but they can come back with a vengeance against Samsung. Starts here.
Which is incredibly interesting, given that Spenu, a 10th place team thrown into that promotion tournament, had to fight for their spot, whereas Galaxy, not the greatest team in the LCK, but very comfortably in that 7th place seed. So definitely either Ever has really stepped up or Samsung is really falling flat, and I think it's a little bit of both in this instance.
Oh, no, I completely agree with that. Again, we've talked about how just across the board, Samsung just need to refine certain mechanics that are happening right now. Their decision-making, though, is not perfect either. Ever have shown the first game that they're able to snowball and effectively identify the correct objective to quickly close out games. But in this game, it's much more patient. I still feel that Samsung had a little bit of control, especially early, in kind of dictating the pace, although Ever quickly starting to run away with this.
Two-man Cosmic Tempered Fate going to come in, the double knockup immediately afterwards. The repel will take him to safety, but Loken is immediately going to blow up that Morgana. Gangplank setting up the barrels, trying to help save his team. Loken knocked low, but 2 are going to go down forever as they turn their sights toward the Baron.
And again, Samsung just don't have the vision to protect them against these semi-global reach like this, but hold on.
Here it comes. They could take it. They are going to secure it. Ever snags the Baron. Athena will trade it for his life, though, as Crown tries to find another kill. Crazy is out for blood as he flashes forward. The Broken Wing's going to secure 1 kill. Kube desperately running for his life, and it looks like Ever are going for more here. Tristana on the backside, the knockup onto Crown. Crown could be in trouble. Kube running, but now no hope left as the ace will come out, the pseudo ace, and the Baron in the favor of Ever.
The pick, the delayed ace, and like you said, the Baron, everything went wrong for Samsung right there. They're not able to see these long-range Bard ultimates, and Key had a fantastic performance on the Tom Kinchin game 1, showing up huge with the Bard in game 2. Look at this engagement. Again, they have no idea that it's there. Ares is on top of them. You immediately have the chain CC into the knockup. Eve forces up only to come down to his certain death. And Crown, I feel like Crown's never really been in these team fights to be effective. It's kind of like the cannon barrage comes down, he maybe gets a single barrel, but you're not having the setup time from this Samsung comp, getting the barrels on the ground, layering the piercing arrows to find successful fights.
And to me, it looked like that fight started out so promisingly when you used the Gangplank ult combined with the Bar Assault. I thought they might be able to turn it, but the reality is that
they're too far behind as well.
Well, additionally, the delay between snaring extra targets is far too long against a team with this much mobility. Each and every member was just able to walk out or leap out of that Gangplank ult before they were locked down in it.
Execution of composition. Samsung really struggling here.
Ever, of course, some pretty powerful picks in their composition. This Rise, once again, not the all-star highlight reel we expected, but a 1-1-2 scoreline. Definitely pretty solid as he approaches, or has a very high CS margin, nearly perfect CS, or nearly standard CS at this point in the game.
And he was put behind early. This was where Samsung put their resources to try to get Crown ahead on that Gangplank and force Rise down. Athena doing a great job compensating for that, now ahead in CS. Like you said, about 10 CS.
Yeah, a pretty decent lead at this point in the game. 20 CS now for Athena, actually, as they push forward. And no, not even all that mid lane CS given to him. Rise now being dedicated to split pushing, as the remaining members of Ever will take yet another Dragon. This one completely uncontested. I think no surprises on that one. Samsung cannot really afford to leave their base, but this sets up Ever for that 5th Dragon, the aspect of the Dragon. One of the easiest ways to close out a game here.
They also do have the Baron buff, so the question will be, are they going to try to apply this to any tier 2 tower and try to break down more objectives, or is this simply just a gold buff through this mid game into late game?
So far, it has just been that gold buff. Riven, though, pushing on the top side. They could try to make it more. Loken additionally pushing in this mid wave. The Rek'Sai ult allowing Ares to push deeper in as well. Ward's going down on the bottom lane, but it looks like mostly Ever are content just to back off here.
Yeah, a lot of wasted time in terms of the Baron through recalls. You saw Loken there on your screen, recalled. Picked up his 4th item. Now quickly running back into position. You've got Ares shadowing above Athena, trying to provide protection for him to take down this tower.
The remaining members of Samsung, though, just willing to try to base race this one out. All 5 members are here. Rise and Rek'Sai still on the bottom. Rek'Sai moving in for the flank. Now Rise there. I'm not sure how much they can do. The TP is not available, and Samsung, a huge showing of confidence. 2 tiers have gone down in exchange for 1 as they push in for the inhibitor, but Riven is continuing to go. Bard gonna get locked down. Key could be in trouble. Tempered Fate gonna land on 3. The Black Shield keeping Fury safe. Crown could get knocked down. Rek'Sai on the backside here for the flank as Kube gets locked up in that ultimate. Not going to be safe. Exhaust coming out for Luna. Luna also throwing down the Soul Shackles. Crazy able to find 1 regardless. Loken going in for the kill. Fury does not have the tools to duel the Tristana. Loken grabbing 1. Diving forward for another one. Picking up it. Absolute insanity here as Loken manages to close out that fight. Is this Loken or Uzi I?
That's the quadra kill is what that is. Tristana coming out massive on the team fight. But again, Key starts it, is the primary initiator with the Tempered Fate. Stalls the fight out long enough for the teleport from Crazy and for Ares to get in position behind Samsung. A perfectly executed pincer maneuver that just allows Tristana to go crazy, leaping forward so aggressively and ends up with the top inhibitor.
Quadra kill just has to be so confidence boosting, and it looks like Ever are going to be able to end this game. Samsung dreams for KeSPA Cup dominance are being shut down here in the round of 12 as Ever will advance to the round of 8 and style on Samsung to close this one out in 33 minutes. What a set.
And 2 different styles of play from Ever in terms of how they're winning the game and where their win conditions and power points are. It's not just a primary 1 carry show. It wasn't just Crazy that game. It's across the board that they're showing great talent.
And just outclassing Samsung, not only in the laning phase, but also in in-game execution, macro play as well. Ever looking like a real threat here at the Naver KeSPA Cup. I'm still just blown away. What a beautiful last team fight. Excellent bard play coming into the key to their success.
Had a great series. Did you just say key to their success?
I did say key to their success. And you responded. I gotcha.
I was just so excited to talk about a great support player.
He is good. The bard play was absolutely fantastic there. And one of the big things that I want to talk about is putting Fury on this Varus seems very odd to me. Fury is such a talented mechanical player, and while Varus, there are some opportunities for mechanical outplays, it's not a Lucian, it's not a Vayne, it's not a hyper carry for the late game. It just feels like a sort of an oddball pick for him as a player.
I think it definitely goes back to Samsung are struggling to figure out their identity and where they're strong. They kind of identified this as, give Fury that Lucian, give him the resources, allow him to be that primary carry. He has the highest kill participation of anyone on his team. So when things do go right for Samsung, it's typically with him leading the charge or at least being at the helm. But wasn't the composition, wasn't the makeup for these for this tournament at least.
And additionally, compositional errors, but also execution errors. They didn't mess up those flashes there, but there were so many other small errors in those team fights, and at the end of the day, Ever proved themselves to be the better team. Well, guys, we're going to have a 15-minute break as I figure out how to recover my ability to speak. And as we get ready for our second set of the day, we'll see you in just a few minutes.